Hello, everyone. Welcome to Taiwan Panorama, a podcast series co-produced by our whole class. I'm Zach.
I'm Leo.
I'm Travis.
This show is all about introducing Taiwan's culture, history, and society from different angles to show you the real charm of this island. As many of you know, Taiwan is internationally famous for being a food paradise. So today, we are going to focus on two of our most iconic everyday meals, the bento and beef noodles. But remember, these foods are just two examples among many that reflect Taiwan's diverse cultural influences.
That's right. But before we make everyone drool, we need to understand a bit of Taiwan's unique background. You see, this island has gone through multiple historical transitions, including the Japanese colonial period, followed by the KMT administration. Usually, people think that a change in rulers naturally leads to the extinction of certain old cultures.
But in Taiwan, it's actually the exact opposite. Instead, we see the fusion and bloom of multiple cultures across different time periods.
Exactly. Taiwan has a unique ability to observe and localize cultural influences from different periods of its history. And the best part, this complex history isn't just stuck in boring textbooks. It actually turned into the comfort food we eat every single day.
Well said. So today, through the bento inherited from the Japanese era and the beef noodles introduced during the KMT administration, we are going to explore how this history of contrast shaped our dining tables and our identity today. Ready to dig in? Let's get started. Speaking of lunch, you absolutely cannot talk about Taiwan without mentioning the bento. And the most nostalgic and iconic way to eat it is opening a Taiwan Railway bento on a moving train. I heard they sell around 25,000 of these sets every single day. Travis, can you describe to our foreign listeners who have never been to Taiwan what this railway bento actually tastes like?
No problem. Everyone, please close your eyes and imagine this. You open a warm lunchbox on a train, and the most classic choice is the braised pork chop bento. Resting on a bed of soft, fluffy white rice is a massive, thick-cut pork chop. The meat is first fried at a high temperature to lock in the juice. After frying, it's slow cooked in a sweet and savory soy sauce with star anise and five spice powder. It's usually paired with soy, braised egg, and some pickled mustard greens that give a great tangy crunch. This is simply pure comfort food.
That sounds amazing. But Leo, when did the history of this train bento actually begin?
This history dates all the way back to the Japanese colonial period in 1908. But here's the fascinating fact about localization. During the Japanese era, the railway meal was called bento, which was mainly a cold boxes meal designed specifically for traveling. However, today, Taiwanese people call it 便当, adapting the Japanese pronunciation into our local language.
Oh, so the word itself evolved?
Yes, and it's not just the pronunciation. 便当 is no longer just for railways. Its social meaning has changed completely. Today, a hot 便当 is seen everywhere in our daily lives. It serves as a convenient meal and an everyday affordable lunch for students and workers.
And there is a super interesting evolution and funny story here. Early train bentos were packed in thin wooden boxes. It had a great vintage feel, but the rice would stick to the wood, so passengers sometimes had to tear off a piece of the box just to scrape the rice off. Later, when the diesel express trains were introduced in 1956, the boxes were upgraded to aluminum and eventually to those classic stainless steel round boxes.
Stainless steel boxes sound pretty high end. Why did they disappear?
Well, because they were too high-end, passengers realized they could actually sell those empty stainless steel boxes for cash, so people secretly started taking them home after they finished eating. So this caused a massive financial losses for the railway, and they were eventually forced to switch to disposable boxes.
That is so awkward. But you mentioned the 1956 express train. How was the service on the train back then?
The service was top tier. The 1956 express trains introduced the express train girls. Just like modern flight attendants, they wore neat uniforms, handed out warm towels and newspapers, and personally served piping hot pork chop bentos right to your seat.
That really perfectly highlights the extreme efficiency and politeness embedded in the bento culture. However, while we praise this delicious food and great servers, we have to give a serious reminder. When looking back at this history, we cannot fall into the trap of selective nostalgia.
Selective nostalgia? Do you mean we only remember the good parts?
Exactly. It is very easy to over romanticize the Japanese colonial period because of these beautiful cultural legacies. But we absolutely cannot let this downplay or erase the exploitation the Taiwanese people faced and the resistance they put up. The bento is definitely a delicious legacy, but it was born from a very complex past.
Thanks for the reminder, Leo. That's really important. Okay, now that lunch is over, let's shift our focus to dinner. When talking about Taiwan's national food, we have to talk about beef noodles. Taiwanese people love it so much that Taipei City even hosts an annual Taipei International Beef Noodle Festival. Travis, tell us about the magic of this dish.
Listeners, this is not just any regular beef soup. Imagine a steamy large ball with a rich, dark amber bone broth. The saw of this soup is a fermented paste called spicy broad bean paste, which gives it a slightly spicy and incredibly deep flavor profile.
What about the beef inside? Is it tough to chew?
Not at all. Swimming in the soup are large chunks of beef shank. Because it's slow cooked, the collagen literally melts in your mouth. But the meat still holds its shape perfectly. It has this rich, slightly sticky texture with absolutely no gimme taste. Pair that with chewy, hand-pulled noodles that soak up the thick broth. Honestly, it's a temptation nobody can resist.
Gosh, that is so tempting. Since beef noodles are so popular in Taiwan, they must have a really long history, right?
Well, I'm about to drop a historical bombshell here. Early Taiwanese people actually rarely ate beef.
Wait, what? The country famous for beef noodles really ate beef? Why?
Well, because early Taiwan was mostly an agricultural society, and cattle were farmers' most important family members and working partners. There were even an odd folk saying that eat beef or dog meat and you are bound for hell. Well, that's how much they loved their cattle. In some Hakka villages, farmers would even feed their cattle winter solstice, treating it as the cattle's birthday and letting old cattle retire peacefully.
Wow, what a massive contrast. If eating beef meant going to hell, how in the world was this internationally famous beef noodle soup invented? Leo, was this another result of a historical transition?
Yes, it was. After World War II, Taiwan entered the KMT administration period, which also included the early authoritarian period. In 1949, the KMT government brought over 1 million mainlanders from various provinces in China. Among them were many northerners who loved eating wheat and noodles.
Then, in 1954, a huge event changed Taiwanese dietary habits. The US was trying to sell its surplus wheat, so the Taiwanese government pushed a flour replacing rice policy, encouraging everyone to eat more noodles, and this completely changed Taiwan's tradition of only eating rice as a main meal.
And the most amazing cultural collision happened in a place called Gangshan down in Kaohsiung.
Right. For our foreign listeners, if you go look for this world-famous Sichuan style braised beef noodle in Sichuan, China today, you won't find it. It was actually invented right here in Taiwan by military dependents from Chengdu, Sichuan, who lived in Gangshan. They missed their hometown, so they used Sichuan cooking methods, but combined them with locally made broad bean paste.
So it happened because the new mainlanders didn't have the taboo against eating beef?
Exactly. They combined beef with noodles made from government rationed flour. What started as just a simple dish sold by retired veterans at street stalls eventually turned into a high-end, everyday comfort food loved by people from all provinces, and even foreigners.
This is exactly the fusion and bloom we talked about earlier. A bowl of beef noodle combines US-8 wheat, Sichuan seasoning techniques, and local Taiwanese bean paste. It's the perfect proof of how we observe outside influences and make them our own.
After today's show, I think everyone can really feel that having a Japanese style bento for lunch and Chinese influenced, locally innovated beef noodles for dinner is just our normal everyday life.
True, but these two dishes are more than just food to fill our stomachs. They are a part of our cultural identity, and they prove that modern Taiwanese people are a living, breathing mix of all these layered historical eras.
Unlike many people who were colonized or live under high pressure rule who choose to completely erase their past, Taiwan embraces these historical legacies. And the best evidence of this localization is exactly what we discussed today, the linguistic shift from the Japanese travel bento to the everyday Taiwanese 便当, and the invention of beef noodles using US wheat and Sichuan techniques.
That's right. Taiwanese society absorbed outside influences and made them its own.
It shows that our cultural identity is not based on cultural purity, but on adaptations, incorporation, and reinterpretation.
Thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Taiwan Panorama. We hope that next time you enjoy a pork chop bento or a bowl of beef noodles, you also savor the complex, contrasting, yet incredibly fascinating history hidden behind the flavor. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.